Hey, what's going on, guys? I just want to take time to say thank you for everyone tuning in. I know it's been a minute for the Rebuilding Community Trust channel. I've been really busy. I've just been doing a lot of ministry work. I've been helping people, talking to people, doing different duties and activities and things that I got going on. So I just wanted to take this time to thank you for those being patient and waiting for content. I've been really heavy on my other channel, Freedom Fighters, dedicated to the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I hope those been tuning in over there and checking out the material. For those who are new, welcome to the Rebuilding Community Trust family. This site is talking about issues, it's empowerment, it's dealing with community affairs. I try not to repeat and say stuff that's already in the news, but I want to kind of challenge perspectives and looking at the material that's already out. For those who subscribe and those who've been tuning in, thank you as always for support, leaving the comments, being able to share the material and get knowledge, get empowerment, get educated for your community issues. And I just want to take time to really thank for those who've been tuning in. If you like what you hear, subscribe, share, pass the material on to someone who wants to hear it. Again, it's about empowerment and just putting perspectives and challenging perspectives. Since the long hiatus I've been gone, I just kind of been jotting down some ideas. Again, we see so much going in the news, and news changes daily. Had a different perspective about the Haitian refugees or the migrants. We know what's going on in Haiti. Again, we want to pray for those affected by what's going on over there. We lost the president over there, Jovenel Moise. He was assassinated a couple of months ago. And then you had the hurricane and some other natural disasters. And of course, COVID. COVID has been impacting that country just as much as anywhere else. But, it's causing people to be sick. It's causing, the lack of medical care, a lack of different resources that are not provided. It's just a lot going on over there. So people are starting to leave. And now we have, over 15 to 2,000 plus migrants coming over here to the country, America, to get that chance of a new start. It was an interesting photo. I actually got some clarification on it, but it was shown the Border Patrol agents were looking like they looked like it was whipping the migrants. But of course, media likes to take things out of control. So I want to digress from that and just understand the concept of what was seen. The media likes to portray different activities and things that make people's emotional realm get sensitized and moves forward from there. But the whole point of that picture was to show that, they had to step in some sort to, deal with all the overflow, the influx of people coming in from the immigration standpoint. And, the Biden administration, of course, had to, someone had to take the finger for it, take the blame. And I guess the way they were handling the migrants and some of the stuff that was put in place, it wasn't accurate. It wasn't, humane. It wasn't, the way we would treat people, in a sense of that nature. So when, again, we just got to understand that we deal with minorities, we deal with people from other countries. It's a lot at stake when it comes to understanding, what is going on in this country. What is the chain of events? We have a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. And it was just interesting to see law enforcement in a sense of that, having that exposure to what's going on in this country as far as dealing with people, especially in the minority aspect of things. The government already put in place, Trump has established a Title 42, which is basically incorporated to, send people back to where they're from. It was issues with terrorism and just other things, but that was created to send people back. Those who are in the process of being naturalized in this country. That's one thing, but I guess people that's not natural citizens are still considered immigrants. Some of them were getting sent back, processed through the Department of Homeland Security. There's just a lot going on with that. I'm not going to really beat the dead horse. Again, we can go to the media, we can look at the news and see what's going on. As far as what's going, dealing with the Haitians, but it's just interesting to see the pictures and see some of the commentary from the media, and just, it makes it, of course, see that they were being mistreated in some aspects they were, but a lot of times we got to dig deep. What are your thoughts about that? always want to, what I'm starting to do with this channel is just create a forum to maybe, people respond and talk and ask, what are your thoughts? What are your comments? What do you think the U.S. is overcrowded? I was talking to somebody the other day about the East Coast. It seems like, we talk about everywhere in the U.S., but, particular states like Georgia, Florida, some of the southern states, Texas, right, the Carolinas, these places are getting so overcrowded, so many people. Do you think the U.S. is at its capacity? Do you think that, it needs to be stricter laws in place or federal regulations or some type of regulations about having migrants in this country? Does we be able to support that concept of America's mission or motto of, having the American dream, that concept of freedom, the concept to be able to live and do what you need to do to survive, to have an opportunity to survive and have a great life, quality of life? Do you think that is coming to an end with America being so incapacitated with people? Or do we have more room for people to come into this country? I know everybody has a different perspectives. So I just want to see thoughts on that. Let's just challenge perspectives and think: do we really have enough space, enough jobs, enough income, enough to go around for all the new migrants, immigrants, or even whether it's Haitians, whether they're Hispanic descent, Asians, Middle Easterners? Do we have space? Do we have enough for everyone to live their quality of life the best that they should? Everybody has an opportunity. So it's just some thoughts again. Of course, we see what's on the news. We don't got to keep beating a dead horse. But, I just think with law enforcement, we should be able to, be mindful of, how we treat people regardless of race, color, and creed, and look into those things. Another topic I want to talk about as well is dealing with the crime, the shortage of officers, police officers, but also the expansion of crime. I don't have the statistical numbers, but I think it was 78% increase in Austin, Texas. You have Greensboro, North Carolina. You have Las Vegas. You have a lot of major cities are taking a spike and an increase in homicides. That's including aggravated assaults, misdemeanor or felony, forcible rapes, robbery, manslaughter, a lot of high gun usage and distribution of guns and drugs. 366.7% violent crimes rate of out of 100,000 people as of 2019 and 2020. With the pandemic being as it was at the end of 2019 and moving through the year 2020, a lot of stuff has changed. We have to deal with the lockdown procedures. We had to deal with close of businesses, loss of jobs. We had to deal with the people getting sick, and then unemployment, and dealing with all types of social economic issues. So with thinking of that, crime was affected. Interesting enough, I did a study before the major hits of 2020 of COVID, and it was for class, and it limited crime in certain areas such as burglaries or break-ins, but it had increases in sexual assaults or depending on the type of crime, murder or homicide. But it's even interesting now that I'm starting to see these crimes are increasing in certain major cities because of lack of police presence, right? A lot of officers, due to the events of George Floyd, and a lot of other African American men that were harassed, beaten, or even killed by police, it caused us a great shortage. A lot of people left the force because they saw what happened to Derek Chauvin and after George Floyd. So a lot of people are starting to say, it's not worth it. It's not worth the job. It's not worth the pay. It's not worth being put in jail for doing things. A lot of people start leaving. So now we have this intense shortage of police officers. And I always said in my previous videos, it is one thing to have officers abuse power, but it's another when we start having order being lost in these cities, right? You're having a lot more homicides. You're having a lot more people getting abused, right? You have a shortage of police officers to handle these crimes. So guess what? A lot more gang activity. In Greensboro, North Carolina, it was an article about gang activity and how crime has increased with gangs, and they're starting to do more bold activities, shootouts in front of schools and businesses and homes, and doing things even in front of the police station. It's been shootouts because the lack of officer presence in front of these major places. It was interesting too. Interim police chief in Austin, Texas, did a Zoom call, and I caught some of the interview. But it's a natural phenomenon. The staffing equals the low officer numbers shows lack of presence on the streets, which will increase of crimes. Streets of patrol, allowing the crimes to be committed more boldly in front of these, especially police stations and schools and other businesses or places where people frequent. We have a lot more mass shootings. We having stuff like it was one, I forgot the name of the place. I can't remember right now. It's so late, but it was interesting. It was 13 people injured and I think a couple people killed at one grocery store. So we haven't, we can look at the numbers and say that they're random. They're not as frequent as people make it seem. Again, the media try to dramatize everything, but it's some lack of police presence does contribute to these crimes growing. Right, so we got to understand that. Like one of the things the police interim police chief said, it was interesting. He said you need to rely on the civilians or the citizens or the community leaders or even people that live day to day to say something, to communicate to the police, and to help them do their jobs because it's such a short staff. There's a lot of people, again, that's not there to be able to support that lack of police presence. It gives criminals an opportunity to think, hey, there's no police, so we can go out and carry out these activities. We can sell drugs openly. We can commit homicides and murders openly. We can do things, and with lack of police presence, it can just show that they can have a little bit more leeway to do criminal activity. But until police officers are back in full force, till we have more people hiring or more things in place, these crimes are going to continue. We're talking about 7-8% in Austin, and even back when I did my paper back in 2020, it was not, crime was actually not at 78% increase. It was like maybe 14 to 20% increase. Again, the numbers, it varies, flexes day to day, flexes quarter to quarter. So it may not always be there, but it's just interesting to see that. Another interesting topic I also saw in the news, again, as I was just moving to and from, is that the police talks, there was police reform talks, passing stuff for George Floyd, the George Floyd Act, different other things that was in place to help reform the police departments and the training aspect and administrative aspect of things. And their talks are not really going so well, right? They're not having that weight to push through because of everything else that's been going on. So, with that being said, a lot of the talks that are being said for police reform, if that continues to not be as effective as it should, then it's not going to be anything accomplished and it's nothing going to change. Not in the sense of also the administration policies and dealing with training, but also the shortage, the opportunity to recruit and get officers back in the fold with a renewed perspective of how to police. And again, those reform talks are important because it establishes how much was deadly force, how to respond. Accountability measures, stricter measures as far as administrative policies and procedures. Those things that give officers more training, more refresher training, to be able to continue to train and know how to deal with the public as the public evolves. Those are things that the Congress and other leaders should be discussing. And it's important because, again, it deals with the increase in crime, the more lack of police presence and the lack of seriousness with police departments around the country, the more that crime is going to continue to rise in many different folds, and then you're not going to have a lot of people to stop it. You're going to burn those police officers out that are still currently on the force now. They're overworked, their lives are on the line. They're more susceptible to attacks, because of the lack of police power and police staffing. There's a lot of things that's going to happen, and eventually, what's going to happen, you're going to burn those guys out, and guess what? But who's going to protect the innocent? Who's going to protect the order and the structure of this country? Is it going to fall to complete anarchy? Is it going to go to, where police officers are few and far between? Is it going to go to citizens' powers, where a militia, like in the Second Amendment, where they're going to start carrying out vigilantism and doing things of that nature? Who knows? How would it go? But this is interesting to see this stuff on the news and see, the different perspectives of what's going on in this country as far as police reform. And one of the things that they're reforming about and looking at, all right, we need to make this change. We need to adjust this. We need to curb this. We need to maybe look at this and make the changes that's needed. It's important. It's a very important topic to talk about. It's not something that we just sit to the side and not deal with. But at the same time, how, You know what I'm saying? Do we have these talks with them midst of everything going on? We got military issues. We got country issues. We got financial, economic issues. You know, the budget of coming up for the fiscal year for all the moving parts of America, federal workers, dealing with military, dealing with things of Medicare and healthcare, dealing with unemployment, dealing with taking care of overseas commerce issues, and dealing with tariffs and all that stuff. There's so much that the money need that there's going on in this country that, you know, some things may take a bottom hit. Police reform is going to probably be one of them, and it's going to cause issues in the country. It's going to cause more pressure on the state governments, more pressures on the municipal. I'm trying to say the word right, or those jurisdictional aspects of the states and these courts and these police powers, correctional facilities. It's going to be pressure because it's not a lot of people to fold. Yes, I said it, hold to fold. So, you know, it's going to be more issues in the law enforcement and criminal justice realm across the country, and especially in major cities where it's more populated people. There's more criminal activity. There's things that goes on in these inner cities. You know, you got Dallas, you got Austin, you got Atlanta, you got Miami, you got, you know what I'm saying, New Orleans, with all that's going on down there. You got all the major Texas cities. You got New York and LAPD. You got, you know what I'm saying, a lot of major cities out here. You got even some of the smaller cities and the medium-sized cities. They may have increased in crime. There's just a lot going on in this country, man. So we got to be aware and be educated and seeing how can we contribute to making things better for our communities, one community at a time. And it's just interesting. It's a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, a lot of stuff going on. I'm not going to labor long, but I just want to touch on these things and challenge perspectives. Let's just look at these questions. Let's ask ourselves, how can we assist in knowledge? How can we assist in community activism? How can we assist in educating others? How can we contribute into writing our congressmen and get involved in the political aspect of things? I know a lot of people don't, but it's this point is necessary. You know what I'm saying? To understand what's going on in your communities. How can we better our educational system? How can we better, you know, bond together and make sure our neighborhoods are safe for our children, for the women, for the elderly, you know, even just whoever is there, you know? So I just wanted to just kind of touch on that. I know, again, it's been a minute, and I'm so glad to be on this channel. If y'all have anything y'all want to talk about, again, please leave comments. If anything you want to discuss, I'm thinking about going back and doing another teaching. I haven't decided what I'm going to talk about yet, but if things you want to talk about or discuss, leave in the comments below. You know, subscribe, you know, share. If anything does come up, I will present it. I will talk about it. Don't forget the Freedom Fighters channel. Go ahead and check out the Gospel of Jesus Christ, some of the materials on there. Just did a video today on experience and encounter. Really good video if you're interested. And just continue to share this material. Check out this website, www.rebelliouncommunitytrust.org. I'm going to update it sometime this week. At the end of the week, I'm going to do some updates to it and clean it up a little bit more as far as some new material. But check it out, what's on there. Merchandise, whatever you want, is on there. All right. So, again, just thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Thank you for sharing. Continue to pass this material on, subscribe, and just leave comments and positive comments. And just continue to educate each other on what's going on around us. It's important. Awareness is key. So be blessed. Y'all have a good day.